Good morning, everybody. Let's all stand up. Let's do some exercises at this earlier time of day. I am pumped up like no, actually, I'm not. I'm exhausted. I'm not on camera. I said to Maurizio, this new time's no good for me.
Yeah, I know. It changes yeah, for me it changes 2 hours before as well.
Two hours as well.
Yeah, I think from the States is basically the same, isn't it? And it's just obviously from people all over the place. They have different changes.
Yeah, there we go. So
Hey Todd.
Todd was in I believe, a live Texas Hold'em poker match over the weekend, of which he won. Yeah, look,
Oh yeah, a
check
poker
him out.
player as well.
Check it. Well, he didn't say what stakes he was playing, you know.
Okay.
Whether he's swimming with the sharks or he's in the paddling pool with the minnows.
Right.
But we're in spring forward mode. No, it's 4 p.m. now for you. 4 p.m. All right, great. Uh, all right, okay. Well, I got a couple of bits I'd like to start off with, Maurizio, and then hand it over to you, but I'm completely unorganized. I haven't even got TradingView open yet. So,
That's all right, man. No worries. I know it's early for you, man. So
oh, well.
take your
Oh, it's
time.
got nothing to do with early. I'm just fucking unorganized.
Welcome to my world, man. Welcome to my world, man. I exactly know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, so does who is it? It was Rob Coates in the group was put out a post and he wanted to do some research and he was like seeing who'd be interested in the group and doing the research. So it banged out a couple of pages of, right, this is the actual stuff that you need to research. And he was kind of like, whew, whew, that's quite a lot, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, this is
Yeah.
what Maurizio does all day, every day. He sifts through this and picks out the gems. And
Yeah.
yeah, the research post was one of the least popular I've ever seen in the group.
It takes a lot, man. Obviously, right now I'm building like an AI stuff that helps out with that, but it still needs a human in the loop, which is what like you minimize the process,
Yeah.
but obviously yeah, research is and it's one of those things that you do all this research you might get none. You know what I mean? Like, so obviously the risk reward right there is pretty low.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is not the time to be in doing research, by the way. Why? We're in a shit market, and so it's pointless in a way, right? Like any launches that happen now, I think in is they're not gonna thrive in a way, right? Like I'm just focusing on the major launches, things that are mainstream. You know what I mean? Like because obviously, yeah, the market conditions right now are fucking horrible, and
Mm.
how who knows when are going to get better. As simple as that. You know what I mean? Like you cannot force the market. You cannot say, "Oh, I want to buy, I want to buy, I want to buy." If you want to buy, buy. But is this the right time to actually go all in and full on and all this sort of stuff? Not really. Like we can go through all the charts, so you have to understand when is good times, and you don't dictate that. No one dictate that. The market does. So that's kind of
Mm. Mm.
something that
Absolutely.
I had to battle every. I learned the hard way, and obviously, unfortunately, you have to just take what the market gives you. Always, this is a big poster in my always put in your wall. Take what the market gives you. Know what you think is you're gonna get. You know what I mean? Like so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just an off the cuff thought. Maybe when I hand over to you in a second, you could pull up the mighty networks of the trade posts, and then we could have a look at those trades and
Yep.
we could go through it because I know that this is something that you've always kept on to me about is narrate your trades in the moment,
Yep.
give your
Yep.
reasons why for it, and then post-mortems are very, very easy. They're surgical. It's mistake elimination um, that we want. All right, then. So stop me at any point, Maurizio, and I'll go through this fairly briskly so that we can hand over
Sure.
to you. So over a number of weeks now, I've been talking about this 200 EMA. and the behavior that's been happening around it, i.e., we were wicking down into it, and then we eventually had a weekly close below it, and then we were followed by another week that really confirmed, okay, we are definitely below this 200-week EMA now. We then saw relief inside, if I've got my, I'm going to be very careful with my language here. We saw bullish relief inside a macro structure. So I only ever saw this as relief, not that I can, see the future. And surely enough, over the course of the week, we can see that somebody bought Bitcoin at nearly 74,000, and then it just all went away. It just all fizzled out. There was no real conviction. And now we've closed again above this. We couldn't, below this 200 EMA. We couldn't break this downtrend. And we'll need to wait until New York, as you always say, to see what
Mm.
see what
Yeah,
really the
but
reaction is. But
but big but here, obviously,
mhm.
that candle hasn't closed yet.
Yeah, oh yes, yeah, yeah. Sorry, of course, we're at a
So
different time now.
big
Yeah.
difference of now we're doing now we're doing this the video like technically 1 hour before that candle
Mm.
closes. Like in previous calls, we were doing the call after. So you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's a
I forgot
massive,
already.
right?
Yes.
Massive change. I'm just writing down all these changes because
Yeah.
everything changes in a way, right? And you have to wait until the candle fucking close. That's it. And obviously, we still have the potential
We do.
that
We
that
do.
candle closes above that 200 EMA, and
Mhm.
in my view, that will be a bullish pattern.
That would be for me the start of a bullish pattern, but it would require maybe 3 weeks to confirm it. Close above it, retest it, stability after that, and then we could think about uh the real bullish case again.
Which I'm just trying to make more sense in terms of the 200 week EMA, that 200 EMA that you're playing around with in terms
Hmm.
of significance. Okay. And something that I found out, obviously 200, like I always try to make sense of anything that I put in the chart, right? Like why, and if it works, it works. If it makes sense to me, then it makes sense to me. If it doesn't, I'll
Hmm.
just take it out. But if this is my analysis on the 200 EMA that you put in there, technically that 200 EMA is 200 weeks, right? Like the
Hmm.
average price of 200 weeks back, right? Rolling window. Now, that's roughly about 4 years, like 3.8, 3.9 something years. Probably the significance comes as that could be the 4 year cycle kind of deal.
Hmm.
Maybe. You know what I mean? So it could
Yeah.
get really significant from that perspective. You know what I mean? So I'll be paying more close attention to that one.
Hmm.
Uh so I like what you're saying, technically. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to try and offer a little bit of supporting evidence that the market is just weak throughout, but I'm going to try and put a little bit of meat on that bone. So if we first go to ETH, the thing that I mean, I know because I've already looked, but the thing with ETH is how far ahead it is of Bitcoin with this breakdown. If we use these same EMAs, this is so much more advanced than what Bitcoin is, and I'd be expecting to see that even if I didn't really know what I was expecting to see. If you get what I mean, it's like, well, what should ETH be doing if Bitcoin's doing this? Should ETH be stronger than Bitcoin at this point or weaker than Bitcoin at this point? So then I reason to, well, it should be weaker. So I see it more further advanced from there. And I don't think I can sharpen that statement
Mm,
too much
okay.
more. Now, across the broader kind of altcoin market, let's take Hype because that's one that we like. I think I've put these in alphabetical order, but I'm still not awake. Here we are. Okay. So I think we could go through a whole bunch of outs, right? Including uni that was a trade alert. And let me turn off the EMA for a second, right? And this is the kind of the overriding narrative that
Hmm.
like a liquidity grab is no longer enough to propel us to break and get into, yes, now we're somewhere where we can start talking about a bullish case. We've relieved and we've failed.
Mm-hmm.
The trades that you pick, that I know you're going to go into detail on, you pick them to capture that relief rally.
Mm-hmm.
Small trades, tight stop,
Mm-hmm.
minimal risk, if you know what I mean. And those
Mm-hmm.
relief rallies happened. They happened with Bitcoin, they happened with ETH, they happened with a whole bunch of alts, but they didn't result in something new. They didn't result in us, whoa, Maurizio, look at this,
Mm.
man. Everything smashed its downtrends. Like that didn't happen. So as I hand this over to you, because I haven't looked at any open interest, like to me now, the market feels like, I don't want to say weak. It feels a bit more like it's sorted itself out. A bit more like, all right, there's nobody here that's going to take these prices higher.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to go lower.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that change in structure upon us.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. I agree to a certain point. To a certain point. And obviously, yes, I did talk about it a little bit on Friday because I was expecting to have a little bit more significant, like that gap feel. Let me just start. Um, let me just start sharing the screen. By the way, before I start sharing my screen, how do you guys feel about crypto right now? Give me your real thoughts. I just wanna feel what you guys are feeling at the moment about crypto. And you can actually swear, that's fine. All right, Travis mentions close to the bottom. Okay, right. Waiting game, right. Okay, not a lot of like, not a lot of like directionality, right? Like we don't know. We basically technically all over the place, which is basically where the market is at. This is and the reason why I ask you is because let me just yeah, right here. The reason why I ask is because this is a small like this group. You know, if you ask yourselves how do we feel about crypto, is that a small representation of the main population in a way, right? So that's why I wanna sort of see where we at. Okay, so let's start with Bitcoin first, and let's start from the weekly. Like Ian just shows the weekly. Now, uh, that weekly definitely right is this is a horrible candle to close, a lot of selling pressure. But then obviously we still have 45 minutes technically for this candle to close, right? If this close above here, that could be seen as an interesting pattern towards filling the gap. I'm going to make sure what do I mean about filling the gap. So uh, you notice that I start with this is the weekly, okay? So where's the gap on the weekly? When you talk about structure, right? Let me just all right. When you talk about structure, there is this concept called support and resistance, in where the support basically is supports the price, and the resistance is whatever has to break above that in order to keep going. But when a resistance is broken, right? Let me just draw a line here. When a resistance is broken, let me just take this as a resistance. Okay. Then once it breaks through, then that resistance becomes support. Okay. And then that's so on and so forth. Like, Every resistance becomes support. That's how market sort of goes into stages. Check this out. For instance, you have a big resistance, it broke above, then that becomes support in a way, because obviously we never retouch this support back, and then market kept rallying, right? That's basically market structure. That's very, very significant in markets, right? A lot of people just trade with structure. We just need to learn how to where to action it, right? You could wait for the market structure confirmation in any time frame. By the way, this is I'm talking on the weekly. Obviously, the bigger the time frame, the bigger significant. But you have to it's very tough to, let's say you look at the weekly and then trade on the 15 minutes or the 3 minutes. That doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like you have to pick your time frames in a way. If you're looking for longer time frames and stuff, then you look at the weekly, and then daily or 3-day makes sense. You know what I mean? Like if you look at the daily and 3-day, and then don't worry about the volatility in a way, because you're looking for that longer term sort of deal, right? So you have to understand where, from which time frame we pick things. So obviously we look at weekly, right, for macro stuff, and then we go into daily, and daily is going to start giving us that sort of idea if that resistance is going to become support, right? So something that I talk about it on Friday is that on Friday, this is today, this is why this is showing Saturday. Let me just, anyway, okay. This is today, this is yesterday, Saturday, and Friday. Okay, this is the candle that I was seeing on Friday. So on Friday, I did talk about it. I didn't like this price action moving into the weekend. Why? Because this is not the type of price action that you want to see on bull market structures. The ideal price action is people front running those levels to say, oh, fuck, this is the time, this is now. Those are the real deals when you actually say, all right, this is a highly likelihood that a lot of people are piling in. And I don't want to see that level being touched again in a way, right? The fact that it touched again, I lost confidence on that move, right? I did mention that on Friday. Okay, so that's kind of what happened over the weekend. Yeah, but now if you look at the area that I drew, I think on Wednesday, on Thursday, the area that I'm actually looking to see if we do have sustainability of this move, because this move hasn't actually broken a structure yet, right? So let's talk about the daily. So we know, so this is when things start getting very choppy, because weekly we have a different structure, daily we have a different structure. Now, if we have a look at the daily, what do you guys see in terms of the structure here? Do you think it's a bull structure? Is a bear structure? Is what do you guys see here? Thoughts is bull. 3 consecutive down candles. Marlon, what does that tell you? 3 consecutive down candles, what does that mean to you? Is that a bull case, a bearish case? Is more strength? What does that mean to you? Jeff Miller, same thing. Higher lows, higher highs. What does it mean to you? So Marlon says bearish. It's actually 4 candles. Okay, yes. So Sarah says bear. Yeah, perfect. Okay. However, whatever you come to that conclusion, see what I mean? Like, what does it mean to you? Like, all right. So Marlon is bearish, Todd is bullish, Sarah is bearish, Jeff is bullish till broken. Perfect. Great. That's great. So now I'm gonna tell you mine. So if we go by market structure, I'm still bullish. Still bullish. Why? Because we broke a structure here, right? Clearly, we broke this structure. Then we didn't have continuation, but we haven't actually gone back and break the structure down again. So this is, do you remember, probably go back and watch, I don't know, two calls back. And I was, see these little purple lines here? Let me just make this bigger. And we did mention that we had that, you know, lower lows, like lower highs, lower high, lower high, lower high, and now we broke this little structure there. All right. So obviously this is significant in a way because markets will start shifting at some point, and if we got the right point, and you're gonna be probably wrong 70 or 80% of the time, by the way. So this is something that I want to point out because obviously you can't actually be wrong 100% otherwise. And so if you go by those statistics, let's say you're wrong 70% of the time, right 30% of the time. So be careful with size. That's what I mean. Okay, in terms of, and I'm gonna go into in detail on the trades that we took, and that's why I say very risky, risk a little. And those are the best trades if they work, right? Because you'll risk a little, and then if they work, you're gonna make tons of money. If you lose, if you're not right, if you're wrong, then you just lose a little bit. Okay? Because the worst thing that you can do is go big now, and if you're wrong, which is the highest probability right now is that you're going to be wrong. Unfortunately, right? So that's trading usually, and if you don't train yourself to take those trades, then you perhaps going to miss these bottoms, right? And these bottoms is where the money is at, right? If this is a bottom, all right, just assuming that it's a bottom, okay? So you're right, Ian. Highest probability is that I'm wrong, but that's always the case in trading, unless you do have a good case on why not. Okay, so let's start breaking things down. So the first thing, structure, right? So what I'm looking at structure is we're still in a bullish structure. I was actually looking at this area right here. So the fact that this candle started closing above the area that I wanted to buy, that means that probably traders are looking at this area as well, and they're front running that level. All right. However, something that I don't like is that this is liquidity. This is weekend liquidity. And you guys know that I don't fucking like weekend liquidity, right? There's a lot of manipulation over the weekend. So I don't. But from that perspective, I like it in a way, right? Two things as well. So that's if you start sort of breaking it down into bullet points, you can actually say, yes, okay. So structurally on a daily, we are still bullish, right? I'll be bearish once I break down the structure again, something like this. And then I'll be looking to probably grab shorts around here and, probably right until there, and wait what happens here. That is at the level that I've been looking for a while, right? The 60. So those are the levels that I'm looking at. Okay. If that happens, okay. So now let's back it up. Oh, not back it up. You cannot back up anything that you say, but let's see if we do find more evidence on, using, give me 1 second. Let me just bring up the other screen. 1 sec. Let me.
The other screen, that sounded,
All right, yeah.
Have
There
you
we
ever
go. There.
thought what a funny word ointment is?
Which one?
Ointment.
The fact that you're thinking of that word, it doesn't at this early morning, man. I have no idea what you're doing, man. Like honestly.
Well, I was just filling the silence.
Oh man. I'll tell you different words that I've said, like that I think about. They're very interesting in the English language. Obviously, English and Spanish
Mm.
is very similar. So
Well,
anyway,
a word like ointment. If you need an ointment, right, you've been up to something naughty. That's what I think. Anyway, let's
anyway.
continue.
All right, let's go back and this. Let's apply some ointment into this chart, and and let's keep going. All right. So now we know that we on the daily. All right. Now we're talking about the daily. We have a structurally upwards. So if I'm bullish, I'm looking for liquidations or indications that people will actually start buying some levels, right? So the interesting thing is this is just happening now. Okay. This candle is happening like an hour ago, right? So what I'm seeing here, okay, we're seeing liquidations, right? Liquidations to the downside, right? And we might see further liquidations. Who knows? You don't know how much liquidations you're gonna get, but the fact that we start seeing liquidation, that means we might have a little bit of a bounce, maybe. You know what I mean? Like I'm inclined in order to make sure CVD doesn't look strong, by the way, but this is when the buyers maybe will start to come in. If they don't, yeah, we're gonna have a little bit more down sort of level. But I want to see this holding, right? If it do, I'll keep my positions. I'm still in the positions, by the way. If they don't, I'll close my positions. As simple as that, right? So that's where I'm at the moment. Now, something very important that we need to is geopolitical stuff, right? So obviously, this is this is something that no one has control over in terms of how the market is going to react at news, at headlines or things like that. So if we talk about market structure without any news or anything like that, so obviously everything that I make makes sense, right? But right now, obviously anything could be off the table. Why? Because we do have a significant thing happen around the world, right? So you have to keep that in mind. So there's what drives prices. People willing to go into risk assets or people willing to just close stuff and see what happens, right? And overall market conditions at the moment, they're not great. Like that's the stuff that we're seeing on Friday and keep going like that. So let's start going with that. So the first thing to have that is VIX. So the VIX is the volatility. Usually when VIX starts going up, usually you're gonna see a little bit of a crash on the S&P 500, and the S&P 500 this morning is starting with a huge gap to the downside. Okay, so this is significant. Okay, it's not something that I definitely want to see. Number two, we start seeing markets across the world sort of doing the same behavior, right? A little bit down on Germany, Japan, same deal, right? And I'm just doing. I was doing a little bit of research in terms of obviously these countries are very um, dependent on energy imports, and the fact that the main conflict right now will affect energy, will affect oil, will affect that because obviously if they close the Strait of Hormuz is things are not going to get great across the board, right? So that's something significant that I'm not an economist. I have no idea what the fuck is, but I'm just seeing what the market reaction is on those type of news. That's the biggest thing that we can actually say, right? So we have to keep that in mind. Okay, so it's so I'm bullish structurally, but very geopolitical, right? And I think a lot of traders and are the same way. Okay, so you start to weigh what's more important, right? Is the structure more important, or news more important? I think for me, you put it together and start seeing how the market reacts, and then you make decisions based on that, right? So everything looked good on Friday. Sorry, last week up until Friday. Okay. And that's kind of where I'm at the moment. Okay. So the fact that it's, in terms of news, what I'm looking at and things that I find odd is obviously Trump, saying that they were going to bomb Iran tonight. So advertising that is going to bombard it before they do, I don't know, man. I find it odd. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like this, I don't. I'm not in the US. Which, by the way, I would like to hear someone's perspective from the US from this perspective, from this, if you want to share. But I find it odd. You know what I mean? Like, and so the fact that this is happening, maybe we have that spike down. I don't want to go short, to be honest. Structurally speaking, I'm still like, if something, I'll be on the sidelines more than likely. So that's kind of in summary where I'm at, right? So, because yeah, the short could happen quite quickly, right? And if you don't take your profits, you get that you get the liquidation events like this, and then market bounce, and then this is why I don't wanna. So I'm just basically creating the plan of how I'm going to react if this then do that, right? Like that's, and if this keeps going down, I'll stay on the sidelines. If this reclaims, more than likely, I'll probably add another long, right? But that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I don't want to put more risk into assets at this stage. I just want to see what the behavior of this is. Now, markets will start opening today. Today's actually holiday in Australia, uh, so there's going to be a lot of different price action there that uh, let's see the comments. Who is next? Okay, maybe. Uh, the party
Get
of
get on the poly market.
I'll
That's
get
a
on the button. That's next time. Next time because I need to turn on my VPN because obviously Polymarket is actually blocking Australia. Funny enough.
right.
So I didn't jump into the VPN before the call, but I will for next time. We'll explore that option. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's kind of the overall thesis in terms of what I'm seeing. All right. And basically the why have a look at Ethereum. All right. Let's have a look at Ethereum. Ethereum looks pretty choppy right here, but CVD looks pretty strong. You know what I mean? Like so this type of behavior, they're kind of beautiful in a way, right? Because obviously you get a lot of longs liquidated, but then CVD sort of supports that price, and those are the ones that you want to jump in a way, right? So obviously it looks fucking horrible, horrible. But how that's why I start taking trades, because you have to train yourself, even though if you get stopped out, even though if I get stopped out, you have to sort of train yourself to go against this kind of stuff when it happens. It could get worse and you should buy. That's kind of what I mean. You know what I mean? Like but then if you never buy and like you don't never know when this is going to stop. You don't know if this is going to stop now or we're going to actually hit, that liquidation candle that we talked about last week, right? But something interesting that I want to sort of highlight, markets look horrible and Bitcoin still holding. You know what I mean? Like in terms of performance, this is what I'm seeing. Like obviously, can Bitcoin just keep going in a second? Yes, but what I'm seeing at the moment is that it's holding, and it's holding pretty good. Like from in comparison with markets, you know what I mean? Like now, obviously, oil, is through the roof, of course, because this is going to be very significant. But bear in mind that if things start get normalized in terms of the war and things like that, I think this is going to go back to levels. So that could be an interesting short that you can actually play it out. And if you want to play this short, you can actually use it in Hyperliquid. Let me just show you. You can go to Hyperliquid, right? And now you need to have USDH, which is the stable coin of Hyperliquid, and you can actually trade this thing if you really want to, right? But this is a very risky business, yeah, but this is an interesting thing that you can actually play it out, right? Because when things get better, the oil prices cannot actually be sustained at these levels The economy is not going to pay those prices. But the problem is if the economy keeps going bad, this could actually get higher. But at some point, I'm looking for shorting this thing, to be honest. So obviously this is just plans that I have. Can this keep going up all the way at 140 to 100? Yes, definitely can, right? But then I'll be more inclined to actually grab a little bit of short to know when this is going to stop. That's in my way, because from like if you short in the markets, it's actually sometimes easier to see when people are going to take profits, and then you can ride it a little bit. This is scalps, by the way. This is nothing that oil is going to come down to a 60 or whatever. But definitely at some point you're gonna get these little dips. You know, I did talk about it when on gold and silver. Uh, gold, bang, right? At some point, people just want to take profits, right? Silver, same thing. Same thing, bang, right here. So it was at 120 at some point, right? Same thing with oil. Obviously, we're very, very early still, very early still. No, we don't know what's going to happen. That's the thing. We don't know where the top is going to be. But when the top is going to be, the thing that I want to see is definitely that the markets are going to bounce, and that's the play that I want to catch. Right? Simple. Not simple, but in essence, that's the plan of attack. Is that going to be right or wrong? That's kind of the thesis behind it. Okay. Oh yes, Craig. Yes, thank you. Natural gas. So all energy stuff is going to get affected a lot, right? And obviously you could play those markets if you really want to. Okay. So those are, but they're highly volatile at the moment, right? Because any change on narrative in in the war, then is going to change the behavior of whoever buys and sells. So that's in essence where I'm at now. Something that I want to highlight, right? This is interesting. If you look Bitcoin from the monthly perspective, let me just hide everything. All right. This is Bitcoin from the monthly perspective. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. All right. 5 months that Bitcoin is being on a decline. This is kind of the longest decline that we had in a while for Bitcoin. Okay, so that's why I'm very hesitant to short, because a lot of people have sold this, right? So I'm betting on that bounce at least to that gap. So let's go back to the gap, right? I'm looking at the one. This is the gap all the way to 80. What's gonna happen at 80? I have no fucking clue, right? But but this kind of why I took those trades, right? Based on that basis, based on the structural change, based on that. I'm still on the trade. Let's now talk about the trade. So is that, do you guys have any questions so far? Do you agree, you disagree? And you feel free to disagree, by the way, because obviously no one has 100% of all the answers. And if you disagree, definitely I want to hear your thesis. It will be very, very, very interesting to hear. Rob is asking, have the gap of oil will be filled today? Mate, I have no idea. No one knows. In terms of gaps, there is a statistically edge that a lot of gaps get filled. However, you cannot actually time how they get filled. It can get filled next day, in a couple of days, in a couple, you know what I mean? So it's not an edge that I haven't played with that before. You need to, technically, that will be dictated by the New Year session. In the first, that's kind of my take on that. I never guess on those things. It's very hard to, because you're guessing, right? In a way, I don't have enough data to say, yeah, so it's going to get filled. How can I see that's going to get filled? Maybe, the first indication that I will look into it is the DYX, the DXY, which is the dollar index, right? So if dollar index sort of holds here and starts bringing down, probably we could see a gap fill. But if you start seeing and then and in order to play the gap fills, I think you should need to do a small time frame. You know what I mean? And figure out in 15 minutes, half an hour, if that directionality is going to fill that gap. And that's basically kind of the way yeah. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I would do if you want to play that game. All right, so let's go through how much China is willing to invest in Iranian oil. Oh, man, I have no idea. That's above my pay grade.
I got a question for you, Richard.
Yeah, shoot.
Liquidity, like at some point, maybe a few weeks back or whatever, like it was always global liquidity this, global liquidity that. That's
Yep.
why this is going to happen. Where are all these global liquidity people now?
Well, you can actually like the global liquidities. Like, did you remember what did I say about global liquidity?
In the sense of that it was a really large macro indicator, and it's basically
But it's subjective.
unquantifiable as such, subjective. There's the word.
Correct. And that's my view, right? And obviously any geopolitical factor that affects the world, because believe it or not, this is going to fucking affect us all, right? Is going to affect anything. So you know what I mean? Like, and that's going to affect liquidity and the global liquidity and all that shit stuff. Because obviously, global liquidity, what it is, if I go back and start seeing, okay, in my head, my definition is, when the Fed start printing and all that crap, and injects liquidity, and that's not going to happen with these sort of macro levels. The Fed is not going to inject money. It's not going to get more liquidity in. Right now, what's moving the market is the headlines and geopolitical factors, which are significant, right? Very significant. So yeah.
Interesting.
Marlon, yes, you can measure it, but you cannot actually measure why. So it's subjective. So it's a lagging indicator. Unless you tell me a different way, man, and I'm willing to. That's kind of my take. You know what I mean? Like, so liquidity, yeah.
Nice.
All
I've
right.
put Todd on the microphone to ask a question. If there's anybody else that wants to come on and ask Maurizio a question, just raise your hand.
Hi guys.
Hey, Todd.
Hey, Todd. What's up, man?
Um, Ian, I suggest you like chug a Chang beer or something, get your head back in the game.
The breakfast equalizer.
Yes, sir. So for anybody who doesn't really know, Ian and I were chatting in the room after my big win at the table the other night, and that's the 100x room. And I loved what he said. And one thing he did say is location for color. I see a lot of people like getting ready to hit the short button in the chats. It's like, why? I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you see what happened on February what is that? February 6th? Come on, man. That candle, that wick, it slammed into the 60 to the pip. To the pip. Tell me what the statistical odds are. I'm going to tell you 0.0001. I think the statistical odds of that happening in. That's pure manipulation. And I'm gonna go out and say it happened. It happened before in BTC. Look at 2021's all-time high, 69,000 to the pip. That tells institutions that, hey, this is the top. Hi, how you doing? Time to sell and then short. So this is all wag the dog shit. You wanted to hear from somebody in the States? I see this stuff every day. I'm sitting in this chair and I'm checking out geopolitics, man. And this is all wag the dog. You got the midterms coming up. You got the in border fighting amongst the Democrats and Republicans, which isn't constitutional, by the way. That was set up by the whole whatever. I don't want to digress and get off base, but it's a way to keep us separated and keep us fighting and keep more votes on whatever side for power hungry people, right? So, but we don't have to worry about that. This is crypto. So that candle slamming into 60 and not breaking that titanium support zone, that is a floor, man, that is not going to get ripped up. Not to mention the fact that over these last few weeks of it retesting and not being able to break through there, and all of those stop losses that are now accumulated above 70, there's way more money to the upside than there is to the downside below that 60. And the market makers know it. And market makers aren't one fucking samurai guy waiting to slice your head off when you're late night fucking gambling on the market somewhere, you guys. They're teams. They're security forces. They're worth the same amount as the exchanges. They're worth tens of hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're there for insurance purposes. They act as a team. They see your order books. They see the liquidity pools. They see all of that stuff to their advantage. And this is just an accumulation of shaking out weak hands, man. You're exactly right, Mauricio. Even on the other side of the world, you don't really need to know all of this geopolitics shit that's going on. Yeah, the Strait of Hormuz is dominated by the U.S. right now, but we've allowed Iran to currently allow the Chinese ships and whatnot. It's 90% closed and whatnot, but it's devastating what we're doing to them over there. We just can't wipe them off the face of the earth or anything like that. It's all a matter of timing. Everything is timing right now, and the big boys they'll win in timing over us because that's the number one tool. So yeah, that's what I see. I just see waiting. I can't even scalp at this level right now when it's doing this stuff. But you're exactly right. I wouldn't be so quick to hit the short button unless you're trying to play some scalps or whatever. You're just going to get hunted and yeah.
No, but Mate, what a great yeah, man. Thank you very much for sharing that, because obviously it's a different view, right? I'm in a different world, right? I live in Australia. You don't hear all this stuff all the time. We just see what the news show us, in a way. So obviously, great to hear that perspective, man, because I agree, with your perspective and that perspective. That's why I'm still bullish, right? I'm still bullish based on different factors. Yeah,
I'm fully vested in BTC right now. It's my biggest asset now.
And obviously, like I mentioned at the it's funny when Trump fucking this does this, right? Like, U.S. Treasury Secretary President will carry out the largest bomb implementation. Who is going to fucking advertise that they're going to be bombed? Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't fucking make sense in my head. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
that is purely to administer fear globally.
And you could definitely see it in markets, right? Obviously, you see that S&P 500, Germany, Japan, FTSE, same thing, right? And this is basically why I'm still interested in Bitcoin at these levels, because obviously it's holding. And I think we do have a pretty solid, it could be an interesting trade right here at this level. So the fact, I'm going to wait, by the way, the candle is going to close in about 10 minutes, but I'm tempted to actually just go long here, stop loss below this, and to fill that gap to the 80s. That's kind of what I've been waiting for, a wait, man. And then if we have continuation over the week, I think we could, the next huge resistance will be this 200 EMA, which is 88, give it a take, right? So that's kind of where
that's another thing I just wanted to mention is over the last week or so, you can see that daily 200 knife dropping towards
Mm-hmm.
price, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Mm-hmm.
we've been watching and watching. And it's like, okay, I get it. The 200 weekly it's bouncing around price right now. That's great. And in history, you can see throughout Bitcoin's history that whenever it's, done that, it's always recovered to the upside, which is great. And another perfect, indicator that everybody should be watching. Just wait, man. That thing's we're going to ATH probably. We'll probably hit somewhere around 88, 90. We'll fill the CME gaps that are up there because the
Mm-hmm.
market makers know it. And then we may rebound to the downside for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
once, all of the internal politics play out in the US with midterms and, the Congress and whatever is going on, once all that crap gets cleared and the smoke clears, we're going to be back on. It's just a matter of
Oh
time.
yeah.
But that 200 daily today, when I looked at it on the hourly, it's leveling off. What does that
Yep.
say? It's no longer chasing price. Price is now, they're balancing each other out. I mean, we ultimately always want to see price chasing the MAs. But in this case, look at that thing level out. I mean, that's a huge indicator in itself. And that 60 snap to the pip on that candle to the 60, purely telling institutions, hey guys, we got your back. Do you know what that takes? That takes all of these major companies, all on the same book. It's not just one company. It's not just one market maker, security force. It's oh God, what's the name of that massive that? Hold on one second. Let's. This is huge freaking news for
I think we could infuse Eugene's question in with what you two guys are talking about, which is what I don't understand is why prices are so down when I hear over and over about how much institutional buying is going on. What's up with that?
In my view, Eugene, you need to understand where are you getting that information in terms of how much institutional buying and where it's come from. And because obviously it's very simple to hear, oh, a
yeah.
lot of institutions are buying, but do you really know who is buying? Are you following? Do you have a measurable way to know that they're buying? Right? And if you do, then put in your head. If you're not, get it out of your head. Those are stuff that, you know what I mean? Like the whole point is having that. So based on that, I've been showing the IBIT. IBIT is the biggest sort of way to sort of start figuring out if institutions are buying. Why? Institutions will buy ETFs. Institutions cannot actually buy BTC directly. Yes or no? So the first thing that you need to look to know that that statement is correct is are in ETFs inflows are happening. If they are, then that statement that you just mentioned supports that evidence. You know, you have evidence to support that fact in a way, right? So that's kind of now with IBIT, you can actually see it's influenced. The lowest is being 5,400. This is very significant as well, in my view, right? And this is obviously is going to correlate with Bitcoin because this is the ETF. Okay, so obviously that's kind of my answer. I don't know, Todd, if you do have a different view of that.
No, it's a matter of, perspective. Where are you getting your news? Who are you listening to? I mean, they're all, whether it's YouTube, they're going for clickbait, whether it's, whatever
Yeah.
news is influenced by the owners of those news organizations. They're going to tell you whatever they want to hear, whatever they want in order to instill fear, keep you, keep their boot on your throat. So it's you're absolutely right.
Correct, and just certain sources that you can use. So you can go to Coinalogs. No, you can use the CoinRank ETF. You can do this and look in the flows, and this is how you know if they're buying or selling in a way, right? You can go the Ethereum and Bitcoin. Also, Blockworks, I did mention that before here. I don't know if I have it here. Blockworks will be able to tell you exactly which institutions are buying. So that's I don't have it up here today, but I'll put it in next time, and that's significant data that to have a look, who's buying. So yeah. So did you get that name, Todd?
Yeah. It's you've got in order for that candle to hit exactly to the pip on both occasions, the 69,000 back in 2021, and now you've got there's no way that you've all of these companies had to have. So over the years, what happened in crypto? You've got. I remember my big loss was the Luna. That was my
Yeah.
first big loss, and that cascaded into FTX. Well, what caused Luna? It was what's the name of that company that trading something or other. So what the hell? But it's these companies. They're like Cumberland. What is it? Cumberland DRW, Galaxy.
The market makers, the big ones.
You got Jump Crypto. Yep. You've got Jane Street. They just got in trouble. You got Citadel Securities. All of these companies have to, like hive mentality, get together without leaving a paper trail and say, hey, they own all the market maker company. They have to actually come together and make that candle stop exactly by I mean, look at everything you've got. You've got ETF stuff. You've got virtual finances. You've got all of this shit from all of these hundreds of exchanges across the globe, and they all have to be lined up exactly to the pip. I mean, talk about manipulation, insider trading. I mean, fuck me. There's nothing I can do about it except use it to my advantage, right? Put it in my backpack and use it as a tool. Yeah. So I will, but I did notice it. And I'm like, has this ever happened before? And then I checked and it was like, yeah, it fucking happened back in 2021. It's 69,000 to the pip for the high. And look at what happened then. So I'm like, okay, motherfuckers, let's go. I'm not scared. And if it goes down, and if it goes down some more past like what it did today, 65, whatever, I don't care. The fact that even if it wicks below 60, so what? Yeah. But it's not going down there.
Yeah, I think I agree, Todd, and that's a great point, man. Thank you very much for sharing. So yeah, we're very close to the 2 minutes end of the call, but I want to go through the trades because that sort of relates back to what we're saying. So we took this trade Tau, right, on Thursday, based on what we say. So where we at with this trade, okay? So with this one is a little bit under performing. However, I didn't risk much on this. I'm testing the waters still. We are on that stage, but if you don't, like I say, don't risk too much on these sort of switches, and then you can always add more in a winning trade. All right, that's what I mean. So with Tau, I'm still holding it. We almost got it stopped out, but yeah, today looks pretty strong. And if we have an opening, a Monday opening, that's going to happen in a minute's time. Uni, it is interesting. I'm in a little bit on the water on this one, but it's holding this level here. If I start seeing, I might close this one. Besides that, I'm still looking to get into Kite, by the way. Kite, I did mention that on Friday. It's been struggling to break, but it hasn't actually broken down. There's no sellers. Like, this is just shorts opening in a way, right? But this more than likely has a high probability to breaking out to the all-time highs. To what all-time highs? Have no fucking clue. But I like the price action on this one. So I've been sort of on the sidelines on this one because of Bitcoin. But the fact that we're holding with bad news and stuff, probably this is something that I might enter, but very hard to do it on leverage. Otherwise you do risk a little, put the stop loss below 25 or 23, give it a take, or even 21, and then if it breaks, goes to price discovery, and this thing could be very interesting. Same thing with my VVV. So VVV had a little bit of a dump, which is good. I want to sort of see what's the behavior around 5. I might enter on 5. Those are kind of my picks of for this week. But anything you do, please manage your risk properly, because obviously this is the time that things could get volatile. And then if you're right, great, you make money. If you're wrong, you lose a little. That's kind of in a nutshell what I want to sort of close with. Okay.
That's absolutely awesome, Maurizio. Thank you. Thank you so much. So this time next week will be the start of the first YFM call. If there's anybody in here today that's a YFM member. So next week I'll probably be leaving you about 15 minutes early, which means I
That's fine, man.
won't get to see that weekly candle close with you. Anyway, what a great call. Thanks,
What a great
everybody.
call. Thanks, guys.
Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
Ta-da.
Appreciate it, bro. Bye-bye.